There comes a moment in every life when the world goes silent. When the lights dim, the applause fades, the doors close. When you're left staring at a cracked mirror, asking yourself if the person looking back still believes. Setbacks don't knock politely. They crash through the walls of your plans, tear apart your expectations, and leave your confidence gasping for breath. They don't care about how hard you tried or how pure your intentions were. They come like storms, sudden, ruthless, undeniable. But what if I told you? The storm is not your enemy. What if I told you that the setback is the invitation, not the ending, but the beginning? Every giant who walked this earth, every titan of industry, every artist who broke the mold, every revolutionary who shook history by the shoulders, they all heard the same whisper at their lowest point: get back up. And that voice was their own. When Thomas Edison's factory burned to the ground in 1914, it wasn't just equipment that turned to ash. It was years of experimentation. Gone. Ideas. Gone. Millions in losses. Gone. But when his son found him watching the flames, eyes illuminated by firelight, Edison didn't scream. He said, "There's great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burned up. Thank God we can start anew." That is the power of a transformed mind. That is the spirit of comeback. Because the truth is, life doesn't test you to expose your weakness. It tests you to reveal your strength. To stretch you. Break you. Rebuild you. Into something unshakable. You can't fake resilience. You forge it. You don't wish your way into greatness. You will your way there. And that path, that comeback trail, begins in the furnace of the mind. Every mountain you climb begins in the valleys of thought. Mindset is not a buzzword. It's not a soft philosophy you slap on a coffee mug. It's war paint for the soul. It's the belief, unshakable, immovable, roaring belief, that no matter how deep you've fallen, there is something greater inside you that refuses to die. That belief is not born in comfort. It's born when your back is against the wall and the world says, no, but your heart screams, yes. The mind is the battlefield. And most people lose the war before they've even picked up the sword. They listen to the noise, the critics, the past, the fear. The voice that says, who do you think you are? But I ask you, who were you before the world told you to doubt? Before fear dressed itself as logic? Before you started trading your fire for acceptance? You weren't born to shrink. You were born to rise. The world you see is filtered through what you believe. That's why two people can face the same setback, one crumbles, the other climbs. One sees failure, the other sees feedback. When Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job for lacking creativity, he didn't give up. When Henry Ford went bankrupt, not once, but twice, he didn't fold. When Oprah was told she was unfit for television, she didn't retreat. They didn't run from the setback. They turned into it. They walked through the fire and let it burn away who they were not, to reveal who they truly were. And what did they all share? Clarity. Clarity is the compass in chaos. It's knowing who you are, what you're here to do, and why it matters. Without it, every obstacle looks like a dead end. With it, every setback becomes a detour, not a defeat. You don't get clarity from waiting. You get clarity from moving. From acting. Testing. Failing forward. Abraham Lincoln failed in business. Lost multiple elections. Suffered personal tragedy. But clarity kept pulling him forward, a vision of a better nation, a deeper purpose. That vision carried him through every punch the world threw. What is your vision? Can you see it when everything around you is crumbling? Can you close your eyes and feel the weight of your future pressing against your present? Because when you hold a clear vision, crystal, defined, burning behind your eyes, then no setback can own you. You become a storm with direction. But vision without purpose is a fire without heat. You need to ask, why does it matter? Not the shallow, why, the world wants, not the cars, not the money, not the applause. The deeper why. The soul level why. The kind that makes you move when no one's watching. The kind that pulls you out of bed when life feels like a prison. Purpose isn't something you wait for. It's something you decide. You choose what you will stand for. You choose who you'll become. And when your purpose is bigger than your pain, your comeback becomes inevitable. Discipline is what turns purpose into progress. Discipline is the difference between a dreamer and a doer. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's the quiet work in the shadows. It's the alarm clock when no one's looking. It's saying no to ease, yes to effort. Every single day. When Andrew Carnegie built his empire, he wasn't chasing shortcuts. He was building foundations. Laying brick after brick with ruthless consistency. Discipline isn't about motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline remains. Motivation gets you started. Discipline finishes the race. But even with discipline, there will be days when the world feels like quicksand, when progress slows, when results vanish, when you wonder if any of it matters. That's when action becomes your salvation. Not perfect action. Relentless action. You don't need to know every step. Just the next one. Move your feet, and the path will rise to meet you. Progress is not always seen in miles. Sometimes, it's measured in inches. Every great comeback is written by those who kept moving forward, even when every voice in their head said to stop. There's a law in this world that dreamers and doers understand intimately: motion creates momentum. The smallest step, when taken with purpose, can pierce the deepest darkness. It says to the universe, I'm still here. I still believe. I still fight. And as you take that step, something strange happens. The shadows begin to shift. Not because the world changed, but because you did. In the furnace of persistence, you become more than what you were. You become someone who does not need guarantees to act. Someone who shows up without applause, without certainty, because your identity is no longer tied to the outcome. It's tied to the mission. And that, right there, is what separates those who rise from those who run. Identity. You must become the kind of person who does not negotiate with pain. The kind who looks setback in the eye and says, you picked the wrong soul. You don't get that from reading quotes. You get that from being in the pit, stripped of comfort, robbed of easy answers, and deciding, I will not leave here empty-handed. Every trial is a transaction. You pay in pain. But you earn in power. That's what makes a comeback real. Not the return to where you were, but the rise to somewhere you've never been. And as you rise, as you rebuild, reforge, reignite, you must remember one thing above all else: gratitude. Yes, gratitude. Not just for the wins, but for the wounds. For the nights you didn't think you'd survive. For the betrayal that opened your eyes. For the failure that tore away the illusion and showed you who you really are. Gratitude is not weakness. It's recognition. It's the eyes to see the gift in the suffering. And when you can say, thank you, to the fire that tried to break you, you strip it of its power. There is nothing more dangerous to mediocrity than a person who no longer resents the struggle. A person who welcomes the grind. Who walks into the storm, not for punishment, but for purification. Because the storm clarifies. It washes away the noise. It reveals what you're truly made of, not in theory, but in blood and grit and soul. Adaptability is your shield in that storm. When plans fail, and they will, adapt. When people leave, and they will, adapt. When life hits you with 1,000 setbacks you never saw coming, you don't fold. You adjust. Darwin didn't say the strongest survive. He said the most adaptable do. And in this age of speed and chaos and noise, the ones who thrive are not the ones who complain the loudest, they are the ones who change the fastest, who learn from pain and pivot with purpose. And what do they all do, these comeback champions? They learn. Every single day. From failure. From feedback. From foes. They study their losses like treasure maps. They don't blame, they build. Benjamin Franklin said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." And life, oh, it involves you. It drags you through every mistake, every missed opportunity, until you either curse it or learn from it. Learning is not academic. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's looking in the mirror after another rejection and saying, "Okay, what can I do better?" Not "why me?" but "what now?" That question right there, "what now?" is the doorway to greatness. The world doesn't need more people who've never failed. It needs more people who've refused to stay there. It needs you. Not the masked version. Not the version that plays it safe. The real you. The version of you that was born for this climb. Because inside you, right now, there's something ancient. Something unbreakable. Something that has survived every night you thought would end you. You don't need more time. You need more truth. You don't need to be ready. You need to be real. You've bled for this dream. You've wept for it. You've sacrificed pieces of your soul for it. Now rise for it. When they doubt you, rise. When you fail, rise. When the plan collapses and the walls cave in, rise. Again. And again. And again. Because you don't just bounce back. You come back bigger. You come back smarter. You come back wiser, with scars that sing songs of resilience. You are not broken. You are becoming. Setbacks are not tombstones. They are turning points. Not the end of your story, but the chapter before the rise. There is a version of you that's waiting on the other side of this trial. A version forged in fire, cleansed by the chaos, strengthened by every tear, every sleepless night, every voice that said, "You can't." But here's the truth no one tells you, that version isn't unlocked by ease. It's awakened through pressure. Because pressure doesn't destroy diamonds. It creates them. And you are not clay. You are not glass. You are not made to shatter. You are built of something eternal. The same force that pulled Lincoln through loss. The same spirit that drove Mandela through decades in a cell. The same fire that whispered to Harriet Tubman in the dark, "Keep going." You are part of that legacy, whether you believe it yet or not. Because every setback carries a seed. A seed of growth. Of revelation. Of power. But only those willing to dig through the rubble. Only those willing to keep planting when the soil looks barren. Only those willing to believe when belief feels impossible. They are the ones who harvest greatness. And let me tell you this, the comeback is not a single moment. It is not one glorious victory where the music swells and the crowds cheer. It is a series of choices, made in silence. It's choosing to get up again when your body aches and your spirit whispers, why bother? It's choosing to stay the course when no one is clapping, when no one is watching. It's choosing to act when nothing makes sense, when the data says give up, when the logic says stop, but your heart says, one more step, one more rep, one more email, one more call, one more day of faith. That's how legends are made. In the small, invisible battles most people never see. When you fight not for praise, but because quitting would mean betraying your purpose. You want to turn the setback into a comeback? Then own it. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Don't hide it behind excuses. Own it like a craftsman owns his tools. Like a blacksmith owns the fire. Like a warrior owns every scar. Because the moment you own your pain, you stop being its victim and start becoming its master. And there's no power greater than a human being who has mastered their suffering. Not silenced it. Not ignored it. Transformed it. And when you do that, when you transmute the pain into purpose, the setback into strategy, the rock bottom into revelation, you step into a level of strength most people will never touch. You stop being someone who simply survives life, and you become someone who sculpts it. Now listen carefully. There will be moments when you feel like the breakthrough is never coming. Like every prayer is echoing back unanswered. Like the door is locked and no one is listening. Those are the moments that test your faith. Not faith in some distant miracle. Faith in yourself. Faith in the seed you planted. Faith in the invisible momentum gathering beneath the surface. Faith in the law of the harvest, that what you sow in silence will one day erupt in abundance. Because nothing in this world blooms overnight. Not the oak. Not the empire. Not the extraordinary. It takes time. Pressure. Silence. Isolation. Rejection. And then explosion. People will look at your comeback and call it overnight. They won't see the tears, the doubts, the years you spent fighting battles no one applauded. Let them. Because their ignorance does not define your journey. Your comeback is not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Proving that the fire inside you is stronger than any storm around you. Proving that every step you took in faith, even the ones in darkness, was worth it. Because at the end of the day, you were never chasing success. You were chasing yourself. The highest version of yourself. The version that refused to die in the setback. You see, the world isn't changed by those who never fall. It's changed by those who fall 1,000 times and rise 1,001. That's you. Right now. Right here. In the silence between who you were and who you are about to become. This is your moment. Not the one they gave you. The one you take. Not the one that feels perfect. The one that feels impossible, and you choose it anyway. This is the comeback. Not a finish line in the future. A decision in the present. One breath. One thought. One action. Now. Because the comeback. It's not waiting for the right circumstances. It's declaring war on the lie that you must wait to begin. You begin now, in the middle of the chaos, the fear, the unanswered questions. You begin now, when the world says it's too late, and your heart whispers, try again. You begin now, because there is no perfect timing for greatness. There is only decision. Every great soul who ever changed the world. They started with nothing. No resources. No roadmap. Just a voice. A vision. A deep, inner knowing that they were meant for more. They didn't wait for permission. They gave themselves authority. So give yourself permission. Permission to rise. Permission to rebuild. Permission to stop hiding your potential behind pain and finally unleash the fire that's been smoldering under the ashes. Because no one is coming to crown you. You must crown yourself. And that crown? It isn't made of gold or glory. It's made of choice. Daily. Hourly. In the dark. In the grind. In the places no one sees and no one claps. It's made of the moments when you could have quit, but didn't. When you could have played small, but chose to expand. When you could have waited for someone to fix it, but decided to become the solution. This is the making of your legend. But legends aren't loud at first. They whisper. They echo from the silence of early mornings and late nights and lonely decisions. And then, one day, they roar. Not because of a single victory, but because of who you've become through every loss. So if you're standing in the rubble, looking at the pieces of a life that didn't go to plan, don't curse the ground. Don't run from the wreckage. Kneel down. Pick up the first brick. And build. Not the old version. Not a replica of the past. Build something new. Built not just with dreams, but with scars. With truth. With grit. Let the comeback version of you be stronger, smarter, bolder. Not in spite of what happened, but because of it. Because every time life tried to bury you, it forgot one thing: you are seed. You don't die in the dark. You grow in it. You break through the dirt. You chase the light. And you rise, not as the person you were, but as the force you were always meant to become. They will ask you one day, how did you do it? How did you turn all of that pain into power? How did you come back after all that loss? And you will smile. Not because it was easy. Not because you had all the answers. But because you refused to surrender to the setback. You will say, I chose to believe in a version of myself the world hadn't seen yet. I chose to rise when every voice said stay down. I chose to own my story, not run from it. I chose to build a legacy, brick by broken brick. You didn't just survive. You resurrected. So this is your invitation. To stop waiting. To stop hoping the past will change. To stop shrinking for people who can't handle your power. This is the moment you come back to yourself. To the warrior. The leader. The builder. The visionary. The one who never really left, just needed to be awakened. You don't need a miracle. You are one. You don't need a savior. You became one. And when the dust settles and the pages are written, they will not remember you for how you fell. They will remember you for how you rose. Again. And again. And again. Because the greatest comeback is you. Fully alive. Fully awake. Unstoppable. Now rise.